All right, we should be live momentarily. All right, and we are live. So, hello, everybody. I'm super excited to have all of you on my show, on my channel. And as people are joining, I am unmuting all of you. So, a couple of things before we get started. As you are joining my live stream, big request for everybody: please mute yourself if everybody should be automatically muted, but as you are joining, please mute yourself so there's no echo, there's no any kind of sound issues. So and also kind of set the stage for everybody. Kind of set a stage. This is not a lecture. This is not a lecture. So I hope you came here with your questions and with your thoughts and with your requests. So mainly my purpose for this session is to serve you as much as I can. And I treat this session pretty much like my regular coaching session as I'm working with my clients. And my promise to you today, for whatever time we have, like probably within an hour or so, I will do the best that I can to give you what you need to do and explain why you need to do that. So this is something that I can do within an hour. Also, how we're gonna structure the whole stream. Uh, come prepare with your questions. Use raise hand feature on Zoom. So if you have a question and you want your question to be answered, or like hot on what we call hot seat coaching. So you can ask me your question. You can like describe me your situation, your career situation. So just raise your hand and I will go through the order raised or raised. So, and I will answer your questions one by one. So, and the topic for my live stream today, that the tables in tech industry will turn. So what I mean by that, so you probably hear a lot that the market is down, the competition is really high. There's a lot of scarcity mindset in a way when it comes to tech jobs, and rightfully so, because I've been in tech since 2016. And I'm a career changer myself. And ever since, I haven't seen that type of a tech job market. And when I say tech job market, because before tech, I was in different industries. So before tech, I was a clinical psychologist and I was working as a case manager for healthcare organizations. I was working as a youth counselor, and outside of tech, what we're seeing in tech right now, it's more or less normal. So you got to put yourself out there. You got to network. You got to know somebody to get better jobs, to get better opportunities, higher jobs, and get better promotions. So that was pretty much normal for all other industries. So like in tech in 2016, when I got into tech, it was a little different. Well, in tech, you still have to network. You still have to have your executive presence. But really, like until now, we have really high demand on software developers, and we still have really high demand on software developers. The problem is we have a lot of software developers on the market right now. And because of that, you got to find a way to stand out. So, and no matter in what kind of market we are in, whether it is like down economy market or it is hot market, and it's important to have your executive presence. So let me know in the chat. Do you know what the executive presence is and what it means to have executive presence. So let me know in the chat if you know what it is. Executive presence. What is executive presence? Let me know in the chat. So as you're typing, and you can basically just type yes or no. Yes, I know what executive presence is, or no. Like, you can give me just really short answer. So your executive presence, like, simply put, is when you influence other people to trust you that you are able to do the job. In executive presence is when you are able to convince and influence other people that you can do the job. So this is basically the executive presence. So executive presence, yes, it has executive component word in it, but you don't have to be executive to have executive presence. And I know there are a lot of there's a lot of there are a lot of new developers, there are a lot of new professionals on this stream, and you might be wondering, I'm just starting my career, I'm a very new engineer, what kind of possible executive presence I might have. And I would challenge that. That it doesn't matter if on your role, it doesn't matter on the years of experience. It matters when you communicate your value, what you can deliver, and influence people who connect with you that you can do the job. Doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. Doesn't matter how on your title. Doesn't matter. It matters when people interact with you and they trust you. They can trust that you can do the job. So let me pause right here and see if anybody has questions, not necessarily regarding executive presence or anything like that. Questions that you have, questions that you prepare for this live stream. It can be anything related career, like how to land a job, how to get promotion, how to navigate, whatever questions you might have, because this is not a lecture. And I really want you to take away as much as possible, so you can take away as much value of this live stream, of this event, as much as possible. So just raise your hand, and I will get it over to you and answer your questions. And that's totally okay to raise your questions, because to raise your hand and ask your questions, because why it is important. First of all, you gotta receive a lot of value out of this. You gotta receive a lot of value out of this. And also, speaking of executive presence, the way you develop executive presence is by showing up. And why this live stream can serve you as a tool to put yourself out there, because I'm streaming on LinkedIn, I'm streaming on YouTube, and other, like on Twitter. And when people see you, right? Let's say you ask your question, you raise your hand, and people see you talking, people see you asking questions, people see you interacting, then people start developing know, like, and trust factor. And with that, you might ask really good question, or you might ask question that resonates with other people, and then people might want to connect with you, and they might have opportunity for you. So, like, I highly encourage you to raise your hand and ask questions. So Brian asked in the chat, as a new technologist, I noticed that a lot of jobs are asking for programming experience, like 2 years, 3 years, etc. Should I ignore, or should I still apply, or is there a better strategy? So it's an excellent question. So when it comes to job requirements and years of experience, there are two campuses. Like one campus is apply anyway, and another campus apply only if you are meeting the requirements for at least, I don't know, like it varies 70%, 80%, 90%, 95%. So here's my take. So if you have no experience, we are in an amazing profession right now where we can create our experiences. We are in an amazing profession when we can create our experiences. And how we create our experiences? By networking with other people and networking with other businesses, putting yourself out there and asking if those businesses, those people that you know around you need your services. It can be for free. It can be for highly discounted price, because this is also important to know what you're focusing on. You are focusing on building your experience and building your executive presence. So, and when you ask enough people, somebody will say yes, especially if they understand what you're doing, they understand that you build your portfolio, they understand that you build your experience. People eventually, somebody will say yes. So here's my story. So my background, when I started in tech, I started as a manual QA engineer. And slowly I was progressing in my career. I started doing test automation. Then later I started doing iOS native test automation with XUI test. And at some point in my career, I realized that I don't want to limit myself just to iOS, or not iOS, but iOS testing. And not just iOS testing, but just test automation. I want to go deeper. I want to be a specialist in mobile development, in iOS development. So I was lucky to have a team, a native iOS team, that I could raise my hand and say, hey, I would like to contribute and do more features and contribute as an iOS developer. And they were perfectly fine with that. But when I was making my career moves, I found myself in a situation that I don't have enough projects. Like similar to what Brian asked, I don't have enough projects with specifically iOS. I might have a couple of years of experience in iOS test automation, but even if I flip the title and say I am an iOS developer, which I was an iOS developer, I was working on test automation and iOS features, so that was absolutely fine to flip the title. Even if I would do that, I don't have enough projects. I simply don't have enough receipts that I am good at what I do. So what I did, I started asking my network, and I had a friend in my network who also had a startup, and his startup is focusing on a bootcamp for QA engineers. And I had a conversation with him, and I said, "Hey, how's your start a regular conversation. How's your startup going? Like, what kind of programs do you have? What about mobile testing? What do you do with mobile? I know you teach test automation. Like, how do you teach native iOS test automation, or like how to teach native testing, right? Like, where do you get those mobile apps?" And that was a problem for his startup. He said, actually, we don't. We do, but we don't. We teach the theory how to do that, but we have no application practice on. And I said, well, I actually have a solution for you. Like, I need more projects on my resume and somebody who can back up my experience. How about I deliver projects to you so your students can test it or to write test automation for it. I can give you the code source. I can deploy it to test flight. I can do all the things. So all you need to do is basically give that test flight link to your students and they can test it. And if you need to teach test automation, if you have people who can teach test automation with native iOS, just give them the repo and they can practice it. And my friend said yes. And because of that experience, because of that networking opportunity, I was able to make big career moves in iOS development. Could I made still my career moves into iOS development? Possibly yes, because it was a good combination. It was a good blend of QA experience, test automation, and other experiences. So I made really great moves, but to hit my salary target, to hit my employer bucket list, which is also like kind of another topic that you should know. It's important to know what you want, and it's important to know what companies you're targeting, because if you have no idea what is your ideal employer, you have no idea who you want to work for, you have no idea where you're heading, it's kind of hard to navigate, right? Like, then you open for whatever, and when you open for whatever, you're missing out on a very, very dope opportunities. So but to make it through my bucket list, or at least to make at least one company in my bucket list, I needed to have a little bit better experience. My iOS experience had to be a little bit more presentable. So, and I made it, and I was able to do that because of my strategic networking with other startups. So how can we make our resumes stand out of many resumes that get submitted to a recruiter? About resumes. So this goes to your LinkedIn profile, and it goes to your resumes as well. At the beginning, I said that your executive presence is super important, and your executive presence is when you convince and influence others that you can do the job. And this is what you can do in your resume. In your resume, it is very important to communicate what you actually have done, your achievements. What I see a lot of when I see people do it in their resumes, people would say what they did. People would list what they did and not what they necessarily achieved. They would list they would list the list of duties that they performed, but not necessarily their achievements. So what I often tell my clients to do, and a lot of people have struggled with it, and the framework is very simple. What did you do? What was the outcome? And what technology did you use? Develop website with React framework or with Angular framework. This is not an achievement. This is what you did. This is your duty. Contributed to the project. This is not an achievement. Like, yes, and you contributed, and what happened. So, but what did you do? And when I say what did you do, explain that what did you do in as simply as humanly possible, so anybody can understand what was that feature that you did. Develop delete account feature. So what was the outcome? The customer's privacy was respected and protected, and customers were able to have more control over their privacy. And what technology did I use? I used like Swift as a programming language, Swift UI as a framework, and MVVM as a framework, as a design pattern. So, and when you reorganize your resume like that, so first of all, it's going to be very easy on the eyes. So it's going to be very easy to read. So recruiters can actually read what you did. And in terms of the technology, right? Because as software developers, we're so focused on technical skills, right? Like, I need to show my technical skills. But that framework allows you to enhance your achievements and enhance your technical skills as well. So I hope it makes sense. What are the 4 pillars of executive presence, and how you can have them at work? So I don't know if there are 4 pillars of executive presence, but one part of your executive presence, like this is how you can show your executive presence. Like the first place where you can show up your executive presence is your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile should be highly optimized to understand exactly what you do. And in your experience section, just like in your resume, exactly what you achieved, exactly what you did, exactly like what was the exact outcome of your actions. So this is kind of the first pillar. The second pillar is you constantly show up. And when I say constantly show up, what I mean is you should start talking about your craft, and you should create content. I'm dead serious, because when it comes to content, video content is the king. Video content is the king. This is another component of my career, right? What helped me to make career moves and make career moves more successfully is me creating content about my craft, about what I do. I started posting on YouTube probably since 2017. I was talking about QA. I was talking about test automation. I was talking about XUI tests. And then later I start talking about iOS development. And then later on, I start talking about career development. So consistency. And when you talk about your craft, and when I say when you talk about your craft, you don't go and create content on what you learn from the perspective, hey, I'm learning this. No, your educational content. So you learn it first, and then you teach others. I have a course on YouTube, how to create a mobile app, and the actual API are deprecated by now, but my audience asked me to keep that course and not make it private. So, but basically when I built that course, I just finished my course with a similar app, but I redesigned the app. But the foundation was pretty much very, very similar to what I just learned. And I turned it into a free course on YouTube. And until this day, once in a while I get a DM, thank you so much, your course helped me to land a job. And what it does, it creates executive presence. It creates the factor that I am an expert. So when somebody posts educational content, it helps them to establish themselves as an expert. So I hope it answers your question. Do you think it is important to adjust the resume for each vacancy? So this is what I think. It is important to tailor your resume here and there, like when you are applying, but I will focus on the bigger picture. So when I say on the bigger picture, first of all, it's really important to know your niche, because if you are a generalist, if you can do it all, then indeed your resume is gonna be really hard to manage, because you can apply for so many positions, and you're talking to everybody. And when you're talking to everybody, you're not talking to nobody. So it's really, really important to to understand and adjust your not necessarily your resume, but your career path to a niche that you really want to do. And once you have your niche, then you understand what is popular in your niche. You understand what your niche does and what you need to have in your resume for your niche. For example, back into my test automation days, I was test automation engineer. I had Swift and XUI test. I bet you every single position that requires native test automation engineer would have those requirements. These are core must-have requirements. So did I have to edit my resume a lot? No. I'm an iOS developer now. So do I have to adjust my resume? Not really, because I know what, like, if majority of iOS positions would have the skill set that I have, I rather filter positions based on the skills that I have, based on the niche that I have. And if I want to go outside of my niche, when I say outside of my niche, when I want to work with frameworks in iOS space that I haven't worked before, I can still communicate that in, let's say, in my email to a recruiter, or if they require a cover letter, in my cover letter, or through my strategic networking. And here's another thing: when you have strategic networking, when you build your network, and you should build your network daily on LinkedIn, connect with people daily, expand your network daily, build your community before you build your bank account. So when you have strategic network and you post content strategically, regularly, and I will recommend post content, at least like 2-3 times a week, at least. The more the better, because out of sight, out of mind. When you have that, when you have those pillars, then you will find yourself in the situation where you don't have to apply for a lot of jobs online. And the question whether you should adjust your resume according to each position is kind of like becomes irrelevant. Here's what happened to me not too long ago. About when it was last month, actually, I got laid off from my company. And when I got laid off, I was also in the middle of moving from Chicago to Seattle. So, and when it happened, I immediately recorded a video and posted a video that I got laid off, what I want to do, and you can if you go to my profile on LinkedIn, you can find that video in one of my posts, or if you, it will be in one of my posts. So what happened? A recruiter who was in my network, again, strategic networking, that wanted to work with me for years, and I was saying no to that recruiter for years because I was happily employed. I didn't want to jump on a contract or a contract to hire or even full-time job because I was happy where I was. And when he finally saw that video, he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Eugene, I know you do your business, but I was curious if you would be open to a corporate opportunity, at least for right now. I have an amazing client. What do you say?" Literally within hours. And at the end of that day, I had my interview secured before even I actually drove to Seattle. So why I'm telling you that, your consistency, your executive presence, when you show up as an expert on a regular basis and you build your network strategically, it will pay off. When you find yourself in a difficult situation, if you build your network right, you will find a lot of safety nets in your network. And also, this is why I started my live stream today with executive presence. And also why executive presence is so important. You can take that executive presence, You can take that authority in your industry and turn it into whatever you want. Do you want to start your business? You can. You can leverage your executive presence. You can leverage your expertise. You can leverage your authority in the industry and start your own business. You want to make career moves, so you want to make career transition into like leadership, into something else. You want to change your specialty. Again, you can leverage your executive presence by consistently showing up and building your network, and it will be easier for you. It will be easier for you than for other people who lack that foundation. And I will argue this is a foundational piece. This is a foundational piece because you can adjust your resume. You may not adjust your resume. It really depends. But when you have that, when you have that legacy, then the question whether or not adjust your resume or like apply online, at some point it will become irrelevant. Because if you look at my job history, right, career history, there's only one job, and it was Kobe marketing in Florida. And there's only one job that I got through direct job application. The rest of the jobs I got either from recruiters reaching out to me or through networking. Only one job I got through direct applying. So let me see what other questions we have. Like, could you clarify technical skills are not a problem? Please and thank you. So technical skills are not your problem. Yeah. I truly believe that. I truly believe that technical skills are not your problem. Listen, it's important to be self-aware where you at in your technical skills, right? And it's important to have your study map, study guide. Like, what do you want to study? Like, where do you want to go from here and now? But this is not your problem. The problem is either like a lot of people have either like the imposter syndrome. They believe that they can do certain things, or they're not confident enough, and that will paralyze them. Because it was my case. Because when I got into tech as a QA engineer, I got into tech as a QA engineer not because I like testing. I didn't like testing. I got into QA. I got into tech as a QA engineer because I thought I was not able, I would not be able to learn coding because I was a clinical psychologist. It has nothing to do with coding or engineering, so I couldn't do that. But also, when you have that strategic network, right? When you figure out your imposter syndrome, right? Like, you stop telling lies about yourself, and you have your goal, and you study consistently to achieve that goal with your technical skills. Because if you don't have technical skills, you won't have technical job. That's just the reality. But like, when you are persistent with your studying, with your learning, and also when you have strategic network, it is very possible to land a job that you are not 100% qualified for. Because a lot of the time, like, based on my previous qualifications, right, or previous positions, I was not the most qualified, the most smart, the most perfect candidate for the job. It was a combination of my technical skills at a time, my communication skills and executive presence and networking. And sometimes it's pure lack. So that's why technical skills are not exactly your problem. Like, you should improve. You should improve in yourself. And in fact, in tech, if you're not learning, you're regressing. If you're not learning, then you should ask yourself, like, where am I going? Like, if technical skills like programming languages are not interesting for you anymore, then where are you going? Like, do you want to go to product? Do you want to go to management? And even if you go to product or management, you still have to learn certain skills. Like, do you want to start your own thing? And if you're starting your own thing, then you have to study how to open your business, how to show up for your business, how like the client discovery journey, like stuff like that. You're always learning, because if you're not learning, there's no such thing as you're just sitting here and being comfortable. And it's okay to take hiatus and take a break, but at some point you should pick it up and start going. That's why I mean that technical skills are not really a problem. How long did that take you to switch career? I was very lucky. So how I switched career, right? I went to a boot camp for QA, and I was the first person to get a job offer in my cohort. So realistically, it took me, like, let's say when I started to the job offer, like about like 3 months to like make my career offer in. But again, even in 2016, right? Like I was I didn't know what I know today. So I didn't know how, like, I knew I was like, I'm supposed to network, right? I knew that I'm supposed to put myself out there. So LinkedIn was, not as it is today. Social media, like my mentor personally told me, like, hey, like here's your resume. You apply for a bunch of jobs with this resume and don't do anything else, and connect with recruiters. That's it. And this is what I was doing. And because I was trying to utilize every single opportunity that I got to connect with recruiters, to go to networking events, to put myself out there as much as I could. That's how I landed a job. And also, like, the market in 2016, the market was a little different. There was a significant lack of QA engineers, and there were not as many people on the market. And I was in Florida too. And in Florida, if tech hubs had problems with QA, so did Florida. Florida, it was just a disaster. Like, it was impossible to find a QA engineer. So it was a combination of a good job market and me just like literally connecting with, like, at some point I knew majority of tech recruiters in Tampa metropolitan area. So that's how I landed my first job. So you asked really amazing questions. So keep your questions coming. And also, if you're more comfortable asking your questions in the chat, that's perfectly fine. If you want to raise your hand and speak up, you can totally do that. Yeah, Ty, go ahead.
Hi, Eugene. You're pretty awesome. But I do have a clarifying question. What do you mean by? Sorry. So I had a clarifying question, Eugene. What do you mean by building out your strategic network? In terms of what it looks like in person.
Hold on, Ty, I think you are still muted. Can you try to unmute yourself?
Yes, it is unmuted now, Eugene. Sorry for the technical problem there. What it looks like in person. So it's my question is, how do you build out your strategic network? What does that mean? Who do I contact? Who do I build relationships with? And how do I provide them with value?
Okay, let me just reiterate.
My question is, how do you build out your strategic network?
So
what does that mean? Who do I contact? Who do I build relationships with? And how do I provide?
All right. So can you please, like, I think somebody is not muted.
So who do I contact? Who do I build relationships with? And how do?
Okay. Can you hear? Like, all right. I think the echo was like coming from my side. So how do you build your network strategically? So, and how do you contact with? So it depends on what, like on your niche, what you want to do, on your focus, right? Like web development, backend development, stuff like that. And then you can look for, like, you can look for, let's say you can start with, and it's just an idea, like you can start with your local businesses, right? Moms and pop shop, like really small businesses, and you can see what they're missing or what they're lacking, right? If it is like, it might be their menu is a little janky on their website, or if you're a mobile developer, you can say, hey, like, your menu is a little janky on the mobile device, which majority of the time it is, and then you can actually ask them to, if they need your help with your services. So that, like, does make sense. All right. How do you like? Yeah. I answered that question. Oh, all right. So, any other questions? Any other questions? Now, we like. I really appreciate all of you for showing up, and as people know, where more people thinking about questions, I have a request for you. So I have about, what, 30 you in this live stream. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a short, like, in your connection request, just say, hey, I'm from live stream. Hey, I'm from Per Scholas. I'm just, that would be enough. Because, and also, like, as you go through my content, right, you will see the replay for this live stream. And I encourage each and every one of you to actually comment, like, just say whatever. Thank you for hosting us. Oh, let's say, like, hello from Seattle, or whatever it is. Comment. Why it is important to comment under that event, so people can see you and connect with you. And also, normally, and this is a little bit like outside of normal, my live stream. Normally, I start my live streams by, hey, like, connect, say hello, tell me where you're watching me from, and connect with each other when you see somebody commented. So that's like, and that's how people in my network connect with each other, right? And people found, like, good opportunities, and like good networking opportunities, good connections. And especially if you're new to LinkedIn, especially if you're new to LinkedIn, I encourage you to connect with everybody who commented, and start expanding your network daily. All right. Looks like we don't have any more questions. I appreciate all of you. It was an honor to serve you today, and I hope you got a lot of value out of my live stream. As I said, please connect with me. If you have any questions, like, feel free to ask me in my DM. And at the end, I should probably tell y'all about my program a little bit, what I do as a career coach. So in who my program is for. So I work with software developers who have strong foundation. What I mean by strong foundation, like, I normally don't work with people who know nothing about programming, and they would like to just transition into tech, right, from zero to software developer. Like, they haven't been to a boot camp, they never studied coding, like nothing. What I mean by strong foundation, if you have at least 1.5 years of experience or more, like, this is the A-OK foundation to start building on. Or you have a strong portfolio, so we can build on that, and we can start building your executive presence. In my program, I help developers to build their executive presence so they can show up as authorities in tech industry. Because this is like, I was thinking about how I could benefit and how I could help tech community and other tech professionals. And what I see, a lot of software developers lack severely the executive presence, the authoritative presence in the community. And this is my goal with my clients, to teach them how to show up as an expert, as experts, build a strong network, and show up as experts in the industry. And of course, throughout my program, it's 12 weeks program. Throughout my program, we learn, like we cover technical skill and gaps in technical skills. And when I say gaps in technical skills, I don't normally teach, like JavaScript and stuff like that. I teach software developers how to think, because a lot of the times software developers fail the interview questions or certain challenges because they don't know how to think strategically. And as I said, I also teach people, I put a lot of emphasis on the content as well. And for my students, I give them discovery framework, how strategically create content and what content they can possibly create to help people to discover them, to guide people from, I don't know who you are, to the point like, oh, like I need to work with that person. So if you're interested, send me a DM with word program, or just send me a DM, ask about program. I'm more than happy to chat with you. So with that being said, thank you so much for showing up. I'm looking forward for your connections. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a huge honor to serve all of you. Definitely, I hope to see you in my next live streams. Thank you, and see you
Eugene,
next time.
Eugene,